Hello, and welcome to the Miami Book Fair panel interview of creators and contributors of Literally Everyone's Invited, an Ode to South Florida, 2015 to 2024. I'm Elisa Albo, an associate editor, and here on behalf of the South Florida Poetry Journal. And we're in for a poetic and visual treat today. Literally Everyone is Invited, an Ode to South Florida is an anthology that celebrates the 10th anniversary of the Zip Ode, a playful, place-based poetic form created in 2015 by O Miami in partnership with WLRN. Edited by Jesse Schilling and Sarah Trudgeon and published by O Miami, this vibrant collection features poems and photographs by over 450 South Floridians. Literally Everyone is Invited is part art book, part poetic love letter to South Florida, told by the people who live it. So we're going to be starting with Nick Vagnoni. He's a contributor to the anthology. And I would like to tell you a little bit about him. And then we're going to ask him to tell us what makes a successful Zip Ode. Nick was born and raised in Key West, Florida. He is a graduate of New College of Florida and Florida International University, where he now teaches writing. He is also the co-author of Forager, a subjective guide to Miami's edible plants, published by O Miami, and co-creator of Key West, a guide, published by Extra Virgin Press, very recently. All right, Nick, we'd like to begin with you. If you could please tell us what makes a successful Zip Ode.
Well, no, I think for me, successful is that somebody else from that zip code could read it and say, yeah, that's something I recognize, or that feels authentic, or I've been there, or I know that, or me too. Like kind of, I feel that too when I'm in that place. I guess my goal in trying to write some of those is that somebody else who'd had a similar experience in that place could relate to it.
That makes a lot of sense. So what is your process for writing a Zip Ode?
Process, I think, again, it's just kind of like, I guess, negotiation between the form and the number of words there, and then thinking about memories or experiences that immediately resonate, and then trying to sort of negotiate those two things. Does this experience fit into the number of words on each line, or could something similar? And then you kind of get into sort of tinkering with that, I guess. Kind of like a haiku. The form reminds me a lot of haiku.
Yes, that's true. So would you share a few or a couple of yours, please?
Sure, yeah. So I wrote some for 33138, which is El Portal, where I live now. And I wrote some for 33040, which is Monroe County, Key West, where I grew up. So I'll read a couple of each of those. For 33040, bridge after bridge after bridge until there's just the ocean. That's one. And the interesting thing about that is that it kind of has those zeros in there. So you have a pretty sparse poem, which to me, when I think about the zeros, they kind of feel like the bridges,
Yeah.
Spaces, it kind of creates these natural like line breaks or white space in a page, So
I have to tell you that having traveled to the Keys many, many times over the years, even though it was so brief, I felt that as you were reading it, the bridge after bridge. Yeah. I learned that the zero of the Zip Odes could be either, I guess, nothing or whatever you wanted to make it. Did you keep it as a zero? Or did you?
I guess I kept it as a line break, or as a stanza break. Not a line break, a stanza break. So there's a little more space. So it's really fun to write, because again, to me, it feels more like a haiku because it's pretty sparse, 33040. And then I'll read one of the 33138, which is El Portal. Peacock, roadblock, 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 peacock, roadblock.
That's
And
like a similar experience, but longer.
yeah, I was trying to think back. I guess I wrote this the first year of the Zippo prompt because I had moved to El Portal in 2014, so this would have been 2015. And the first thing you notice, or one of the first things you notice in El Portal, is that there's peacocks everywhere, and they're very used to people, so they just stop traffic a lot.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I've learned to not stop for them. You slow down, like you don't hit them. You slow down and they get out of the way. But if you
They
stop,
do. Good.
if you stop, then they think that they've won and they just like.
That's great.
So.
All right. Very nice. So those are the two you're going to share with us?
Yeah,
okay.
should I read? Or that's fine.
Yeah, if you have another one, that would be, if you have another one, you could.
Sure. I'll read another 33040.
Okay.
Genip, genepa, mamoncillo, or Spanish lime. Are they sweet yet? And those are all different names for the fruit that grows down there and here in Miami too, that have, you know, depending on where you're from, it has a different name. So I try to get a bunch of different names in there.
Are they different names for the same fruit? Because
Yeah,
I know mamoncillo.
Yeah, mamoncillo.
Yeah.
In Key West,
Mhm.
the folks down there where I grew up call them Spanish limes. I learned that, you know, I think people from Jamaica call them. So there's lots of different names for them.
Right. All right. Very good. Well, thank you, Nick. Now we would like to meet Michael Dillow. He is a lens-based artist born in Philadelphia. He earned a BA in Film and Media Arts from Temple University and an MFA in Studio Art from Florida Atlantic University. His work examines the concept of place, questioning how identities are formed, modified, and attributed to specific locales. Most notably, his work has been shown at the Center for Fine Art Photography, the Sweetwater Center for the Arts, and the 2019 Photo Alicante Festival, and featured in Photo Room, C41 Magazine, Fisheye Magazine, and In the In-Between. Most recently, he participated in the Beyond Addiction and Reframing Recovery exhibition held at Rochester Institute of Technology's City Art Space, curated by Graham McIndoe and Susan Stellan. Currently, he maintains a studio practice in Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and works as an instructor at Florida Atlantic University's photography department. Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you as well.
Thank you. So the photography is arresting and amazing in this anthology. I can't wait for everyone to see it. Could you please tell us, how did you come to have your photos in this anthology?
Absolutely. So initially, I think Lauren Richmond from the Norton, the photo curator, had given my name to Jessie, and she reached out and told me a lot about the project. And, you know, as you read in my bio, it definitely jives with my work and research, and I was really excited to participate. Yeah.
Terrific. Would you like to, let's look at a photo of yours. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, you know, how you came to take and want to contribute these specific photos.
Great. So yeah, that's an image from the zip code I was assigned, which is a kind of strange area in Boynton Beach, that I really wasn't too familiar with beyond just kind of coming and going here and there. So this assignment presented a kind of interesting opportunity to take my research and my practice somewhere else and see what kind of work comes out of it. I did have personal experiences there, and South Florida in general has been such a a new world and transformation from what I'm used to. And my work, can't ignore that. I came here in a place of vulnerability and essentially rebuilt everything here in South Florida. And I was always just fascinated with how my own experiences and things that I would go through always influenced my work, and to some degree, which is inescapable. The photograph is always subjective. And I think that going to this place and just my practice being in a place where I sort of know the way I photograph, I know how I come across things and what I'm looking for, and just trust that it would happen when I got there. And like I see the images for this specific zip code that I had submitted, which I'm not sure which of those are in the book, but this one specifically, I had driven by this road, and just the way that the light had looked as the sun was going down, it was this quiet little space in the otherwise very busy and congested zip code that I was assigned. Just provided this kind of moment of tranquility, amongst all that noise. And it was so different from, all the rest of the zip code and things that I was seeing. So I photographed with a flash, and, for me, that is a way that it almost feels like a confrontation because it announces my presence. I'm standing here, and that flash can be a metaphor for so many things, for perspective, for what I'm able to see and what I'm able to not see, because it has that way of illuminating what it touches, and then it provides that wall of darkness or that wall of the unknown, which my work, it always deals with in some way or another, and not just in a pejorative way too.
Right.
So I think I drove around and kind of went to this spot specifically. I was photographing, and as I was photographing, I was standing on a beehive, and I didn't realize the whole time.
Oh, goodness.
So quite literally, I had a large format camera, the one you go under the curtain, the big studio flashes, and I started to notice that there were hundreds of bees all over me, my legs, and my camera equipment.
Wow.
And I didn't panic because I didn't think that would help. And
Right.
I went on to make the image, and it's kind of interesting to feel that tranquility like in the picture, and to try and maintain that
And
given
to
the
know that.
circumstances. Yeah. But
Wow.
ultimately, yeah, the way that I photograph and the way that I photograph for this is still just it's relying on that thing inside of us that makes us want to create, want to make. And I tried to kind of negotiate what that was, and I have, and I know where it comes from, and I can be really specific. But now I kind of stopped asking that question, and got to a place where I trust it, and I'm happy to always talk about that. But you're gonna have to take me for coffee for that one.
Well, that's really beautiful, and I would love to hear you talk more about it. Definitely. Did you get bit? I have to ask you that question.
No, I didn't at
You
all.
didn't. I think
No,
it's
I
because you
didn't.
didn't panic.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about, I don't know. I read that the queen bee is somewhere or not, or I don't know, but I did not.
That's so interesting, but it's also just fascinating and wonderful to hear your process. And we are so much about place in South Florida, and this anthology, captures it, in the specific zip codes, but also in the photographs. And it so much comes through this. Really wonderful. Great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to introduce Yaddyra. Yaddyra Peralta is a poet originally from Tegucigalpa, Honduras. She immigrated to Miami with her family at the age of 6. It was there that her passion for poetry began, sparked by an introduction to haiku, a little connection with this, I think, from her first grade Spanish teacher. Her essays and poetry have since been featured in anthologies like 8 Miami Poets, published by O Miami, The Breakbeat Poets, Latinx, and Home in Florida, Latinx Writers and the Literature of Uprootedness, as well as in various publications, including Bomb, the Florida Review, Plowshares, and the Miami Herald. She holds an MFA in poetry from Florida International University. She brings to her role as Miami's Director of Civic Publishing her extensive experience working with writers of diverse backgrounds, as well as her 6 years of experience in the publishing industry. Welcome, Yaddyra.
Hi.
Hi. So I would love for you to talk about the editing process for the anthology, how you came to choose to pair the zip odes and the photographs. So tell us about all of that.
So the bulk of the curation was done by Sarah Trudgeon, who has worked with our Zipode archives for about 10 years. So Miami has a yearly celebration at Vizcaya where Zipodes are read, and she's the one who goes into the archive and helps us to figure out who's going to be reading at that event. So she's been doing that for quite a while and had an intimate knowledge of our Zipode archive, which at this point is about at least 18,000 poems.
Wow.
So she began to pull the highlights, and then we began working with her in that way. And then Jesse Schilling, who has been documenting Miami for the last few years, wanted to figure out a way to include a photography in this 10-year anniversary book, and used her extensive network to basically begin assigning out the same zip codes that we had for the poems. She didn't want to dictate content, and I know that a goal for both Jesse and Sarah and also for Miami was that we didn't want a book that felt that either the poetry or the photography was privileged. We wanted it to read as if both were equally important. So I don't think, at least it's not my understanding, that they had a sort of pre-designed idea of what the book was going to end up looking at. They just wanted to see what came in with the photography, and then themes appeared. So that's how the chaptering happened. There's a chapter that has mango and other fruit. There's a chapter that has the kind of animals, the wildlife that you would see in South Florida, hence peacock.
Peacocks.
So so that was one thing that emerged. So that was able to help us with the chaptering. And then, I know another thing, talking to Jesse and Sarah, they didn't want the poems and the images to be exact matches or to feel like they were illustrating each other. So I don't fully, I don't know the secret to what ended up next to each other in terms of the poems and the photographs. But as you do see, as you go through the book, we have a whole page with Hialeah poems, for example. We have, as you're going through the photographs, you might see kids in numbers. So you'll see an image with 2 kids, then with 3 kids, then with 4 kids. So I think it was some sort of subconscious thing that was happening there in terms of ordering things.
Great. Yeah. And is there anything else you'd like to tell us about, the putting this either out in the world or what we're doing now? Something you'd like folks to know about, the whole idea. I mean, it's really an original idea, and just going by zip code in South Florida. I mean, we're kind of a mystery to a little bit of a conundrum to other places. Every time Florida gets spoken about, I'm like, you don't know all of Florida. Florida is not just what you think we are, and even in the in terms of the arts and the literary arts and everything, I think there's so much here, and this so beautifully captures a lot. So I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, maybe one thing I can bring up is there's a really beautiful infographic at the start of the book that
Yes.
pulls out some of the themes and the frequency of these themes or ideas or images that appear in the poems. So they're ones that are not surprising, like that you would expect from poems that are based in South Florida. So, beaches or paradise. Those are very frequent. A really cool one that appears is afilador, which is the name of this sort of itinerant like knife or blade sharpener that you encounter in certain neighborhoods in Miami-Dade County, in Southwest Miami-Dade County especially. So I know that a few folks that know about or have heard of that, they think, what is that? And so it's a distinctive thing that you can see here. And I don't know the origin of afiladores in South Florida. I'm assuming that it's, for me, there's similar correspondences in Honduras. When I was a kid, you had every single day at the same time in the afternoon, you would get an itinerant shoe cobbler that would walk the streets and announce very loudly that he was in the neighborhood and would pick up your shoes and bring them back, fixed. So that's like that is a really cool thing. You get other themes that pop up a lot, like mango theft or fruit theft,
Right.
which is just such a really specific South Florida thing. So
I remember doing that actually.
that is
Yeah.
the really delightful thing about going into the archives is seeing how these zip codes are used to either voice a distinctive South Florida way of speaking and seeing things. You get to see folks' neighborhoods, so very specific and vivid imagery, and that you do see unique things, but you also see these themes that pop up over and over again, these images, these ways of speaking. I talked about groupings. I believe there are groupings of borough poems somewhere, somewhere in the book. So that's really that's a really neat thing. The other I would highlight is that while Oh Miami published this book and Miami isn't Oh Miami, this book does represent zip codes in Monroe, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County.
Right. Right. Very good. And the connection with WLRN also, I hear them on the radio, on NPR. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that.
Mhm.
So yes, this form, the Zipode was created with WLRN, and they've been a really great supporter in this what's been a 10-year ongoing open call that will continue. As far as I know, there's absolutely no plan to end it. Like the Zipode open call is forever. There is a page near the beginning of the book that shows how to write a Zipode and has a QR code for anyone that wants to write and submit.
Fantastic. Yes, I can't wait. It's just coming out now too, right? The book this month.
So the book
Yeah.
is slated for winter, so
Yeah.
winter 2025. So the bulk of our print run will be arriving soon. I will say that we will have copies at the book fair.
Great.
A limited advance copy. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Very good. All right. Well, with that, I would love to hear another Zipode, and I would like to introduce Arsimmer, um, Arsimmer McCoy. She is also a contributor to this anthology, and she is from Richmond Heights, Florida, and an internationally recognized poet and interdisciplinary artist. She earned the 2024 Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Poetry Award and the 2025 Arts and Environment Award from the Arts and Business Council of Miami-Dade. Her work has appeared in Artsy, Venice Magazine, Root Work Journal, and others. Performances span from the Paris Art Museum, Miami, to the Venice Biennale. Through poetry, performance, and film, she explores memory, Black life, and landscape, earning acclaim for blending personal narratives with collective histories. Welcome, Arsimmer.
Who are you talking about? Who is that?
I'm talking about you.
Are you sure that's me?
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, Elisa.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, of course. So your work was actually commissioned for this anthology. So maybe you could speak a little bit about, I know I personally don't like things like, to be asked to do things because I feel like a lot of my work, arises spontaneously and it always makes me, I don't know, but it's not so easy. But you were commissioned and you wrote an amazing poem for this, and maybe you could speak a little bit how you came to be in the anthology and your process.
Yeah, I understand that 100%. I've been blessed that the people who have commissioned me to do work that, one, they're extremely patient and respect the fact that like poets are not microwaves. Like we don't just, now mind you, there are some really fast poets out there, right? That can come it up on the spot. But for the rest of us, for those of us who have like children that took half of our brains, right? It takes us a little bit of time to get the words together. So when Jesse and Oh Miami approached me about writing a piece to open this text, I just thought about, what do I want to say about zip codes? What do I understand about zip codes? And also what do I want to accomplish through this poem in an understanding about zip codes, and specifically this way of writing that Oh Miami has put together. So, we talked through it, Jesse and I, who is brilliant. We've been in community together for a while, for years. We're always in space together, and I love her work. And so it was actually like a little fangirl moment. And it was funny because when I told her that, she was like, you don't have to pretend like you know me. I'm like, first of all, I don't know how to do that. I'm a Libra. I don't know how to do that. So if I say I like you, I like you. And so, we just talked through it, and, her experiences, what we were pulling from other artists and other writers that would be contributing to the book. So, I wanted this opening to be like somebody for the first time opening their eyes and looking at Miami in its totality, but also through my eyes. I could not ever just pick one zip code. I'm from Richmond Heights, but I lived in Little Haiti. I live currently in Carroll City, Miami Gardens. My father's side of the family is in Fort Lauderdale. My grandmother was an environmental activist, Leola McCoy, in Fort Lauderdale. So I spent a lot of time up there. Even beyond that, I mean, we go into my child's father's from Lakeland, Florida. I'm 8th generation Florida. So it's like trying to put like it in a bottle, is impossible. And so I made sure to touch on all my stomping grounds. And I think, speaking to what Nick said about having a story that, other people can relate to, I wanted to pick out those parts as well, that I think we all share.
Wonderful.
And I got paid, and that helps with commissions.
Oh, that's always a plus, especially for a poet.
It helps.
For an artist.
Pay the poet. The poets need to eat.
Exactly.
Feed the poets, please.
Exactly. Yes. So wonderful. Well, maybe you could then read your poem for us. I would love for you to share it with us.
Absolutely. I wish I had it memorized, but
oh, it's a little bit long. So is it, let me ask you one more question, Arsimmer. Is it, so it's not one zip code, it was just like zip codes and more generally, because you're from several, I suppose, and in South Florida.
It ends with my zip code from Richmond Heights 33176, because not only is Richmond Heights where I'm from, it's also, you know, down south. I feel like gets left out of the narrative a lot, you know. We don't talk a lot about the Black history of down south. And so I wanted to make sure that I use that zip code specifically just to give it more reverence, to give it more shine, and for people to know, like, hey, I'm from this space, and there are many others like us, many artists, many writers, teachers, educators that came from down south. So ultimately the poem ends with 33176.
All right, very good.
The woman in the airport says, "You got an accent." I tell her, "That's just ocean between syllables. That's just August 1992 with 170-mile-per-hour winds lodged in my vocal cords. That's just Miss Ann's rasp when she talks behind her Newport, asking if my mama needs her house cleaned today. My voice is a garage freezer filled with 25-cent fruit cups. I tell stories with my hands, language I picked up under shade trees with elders, once Black boys who couldn't wash the turf from their fingers. That breath between sentences is the sway of the Creole girl crossing 2nd Avenue, is the movement of Jamaican fingers oiling the in-betweens of my locks. My cadence is stacked speakers, junkanoo, and slam dominoes, is a heaving chest in the back of a squad car picked up from the back blues. Sometimes I get choked up on gas fumes and construction dust. I spit up I-95 and US 1. Swamp water rests on my tongue, making me whisper in Mekasuki a little louder, and I whistle in Miviskoki. Cuban coffee floods the jowls, leaving a complicated temper in my vows. Saying cultural residue on my lips makes me forget the clashing politics. It tastes a lot like my auntie South. My phonetics are guided by vacation Bible school, park pools, and summer camp, flea market, park and parlay, and rib sandwiches. I developed a hard G watching Liberty raise. My dialogue is Metro Rail timed, from Dayland South to Arlington Heights. I articulate in brown subs. My brevity comes from Northside, but I enunciate in Polly Mays and Sweet Home, cause my speech comes from Southern mouths, praying for rainfall, for papaya and peanuts, while waving at planes taking flight overhead. So yes, ma'am, I do got an accent.
Wow. That is really, really wonderful. It captures so much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
beautiful.
And this is an ode to just the beauty of Miami as it is. Always making it known that you don't have to be this big thing to be given reverence and honor. We are beautiful. We are worthy just as we are. Outside with mango juice stains on our fingers, sitting on the corner, playing dominoes, getting our Dominican blowouts. You can do whatever, and you will still are worthy of praise. Yeah,
absolutely. It so captures the beauty and the diversity and the art and the imagery of this place we call home. Wonderful. Well, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. You can see and hear contributors, all these contributors at the Miami Book Fair on Sunday, November 23rd, 2025 at 4 p.m. in room 8303. And you'll find more poets in your vicinity there in that zip code. So thank you all. It was great having you, and enjoy the beautiful weather.
thank you.
Thank you so much.